2022 anymore.
It's not 2022.
Phrase of the year. Do you know what I did say the other day? 2020 was the year of the pivot. Everyone was like, pivot. That was the buzzword there. I think 2024 is the year of the restructures and redundancies.
You shouldn't laugh when you're saying that.
I know. It's bad. It is bad, but that is basically the theme. Like, everyone was excited in, like, 2020, pivot, and now it's like, okay, restructure, redundancy.
The problem... well, maybe I should say, Ashby, welcome to Talent Matters podcast. Hope you have an enjoyable podcast here.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on Talent Matters.
Oh, you're welcome. So the problem is that so everyone pivoted in 2020. Everyone thought the recruitment was going to take years to recover, and then 2021, 2022 just went bonkers. Everyone was like hiring and expanding their teams and growing their teams, and we saw it like just more users, more jobs, more adverts, whatever, and everyone just scaled up, and then it all just stopped, and you got loads of companies going, the hell are we going to do with all these people? So redundancies and restructuring is inevitable, isn't it?
2024.
So what's 2025 going to be then? Why don't you name it now? Let's name it. Does it have to start with a because if it's restructures and redundancies, it has to say.
That's interesting, isn't it? I want to do like a snappy buzzword for
I've got
it.
one.
Huh? What is it?
Resurgence.
Oh, I like that. Yeah, the intense eye contact whilst you said it, but okay. Yeah, sure. Resurgence.
I think this sometimes it's in delivery, isn't it? But no, this is you're the guest, so
I'll say it. Yeah. So I think next year is going to be increase. Like, things are going to get a little bit better, but I think it's a slow recovery across most sectors. Like, if you think, a lot of organisations are obviously worried about the national insurance employer contribution rises, like that's hitting everyone's bottom line, both agencies within the sectors that we serve. So there's going to be more stability, obviously no more elections in the US or here, hopefully. But I think it's still going to make people a little bit cautious. From our clients, a lot of people are saying new financial year is when it should be better, but they're holding vacancy costs at the moment. They're covering roles internally. So I don't think it's going to be... But bearing in mind, my business was set up in 2018, right at the end. So we had the pandemic, and then obviously the really quick recovery of 2021 and 2022. That was exciting. And then, like, now leading a business through this time is a completely different market, and the last time that we had such a slowdown was obviously 2008 crash, right? This is my first bout of, like, bad economic situations in recruitment. But I don't see it getting dramatically better next year. I think it's just to kind of like batten down the hatches, improve the bits that you're really good at doing already, and see where you can kind of carve.
We've kind of gone straight into like what's going on in the world, haven't we? Like, what I was supposed to ask and was going to ask, like, was about the business, why you set it up, the background to that business. So should we just like go all the way back to the start? I won't go back to 2008, but like, do you say it was 2018?
Yeah.
So what were you doing before that? And why did you then want to set up the agency?
Yeah. So I started out working in the sector that my agency recruits for. And then I went to work for one of the large agencies that services our sector, which was great. They were a good size, good training, all of that. And I was with them for about 5 years, and then left to dabble in just commercial sector recruitment, and then decided charity sector is where my passion was. So
you're in charitable recruitment.
Yeah.
Then you left it.
Yeah.
And then you went back.
Yeah. And at one point I did think I was going to go and work in a vegan cheese factory, but then I used to be vegan, so times changed.
Vegan cheese.
I know, the link is there. But charity sector recruitment, so then I set up my own business at the end of 2018. obviously I knew the sector, so I'd worked in those roles. I'd held some of the jobs that the people we were recruiting had held or were looking to hold. And then over the last 6 years now, we're now at 8 people. We specialise in a few different areas. So we're a niche boutique agency, very relationship led. That's a core part of our identity and our values. And we have a specialism in fundraising roles, marketing and comms, and kind of fundraising operations as well. So,
what's relationship led? Because aren't all recruitment agencies relationship led?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I don't know. I think I've had friends that have had jobs through recruitment agencies outside of our sector. I've worked at another recruitment agency. I've hired consultants that have worked at other recruitment agencies. I don't think people understand what relationships are generally in their personal lives, probably in their professional lives. But I think people don't realise how transactional their business is. It's very much like, particularly with AI, but I'm sure we'll come on to that at some point. Relationship building is, you are relationship led, you know your clients, you care about your clients, and you're interested in them outside of your own professional or gain or profit gain. Like, you get to know them, their concerns, their challenges, how they like their teams to be, and you engage with them outside of just, have you got a job for me? So you don't just email them whenever you see them advertising online. You don't just call them when you've got a candidate and you've had no jobs on or whatever. You understand them as an organisation and you stay in consistent communication. And I don't think, agencies or people do that generally.
That's really, it's one that's really interesting, because for me, that seems as though that should almost be like the norm. But I do recognise that activity in just being transactional. How do the clients respond to that? First question. And then the second thing is, how do you maintain that level of consistency, especially if you're hiring in people that have been in recruitment businesses that don't work like that? Do they see the value in it, and how do you maintain that consistency?
So I think in markets like this, where it contracts and there's not loads of jobs out there, the people buy people, right? And so the clients that we work with are the people that have engaged with us for a number of years, know us, trust us. When times are tough and they've got less roles available, they're going to work with the people that they like, aka us, in this situation. And we have to be responsible for maintaining that. What we come up against is obviously other agencies that don't work in that way are job short, no one's making any money, so they're like quick spam out CVs, just call hiring managers, or actually no one calls hiring managers, they're not calling them, but they're like emailing, hi, do you know this? They're going on LinkedIn, they're dropping their rates, they're putting it in the first email. We had one of our clients be like, oh, this random person's just messaged me on LinkedIn just saying that they can do 12% for the first vacancy, and that they're really keen to work with us, never heard from them before. And I think everyone now, so I went to an event last year that said the average professional inbox gets 44 emails a day. And then this year is going up to 48 as your average. So if you think there's a lot of traction or a lot of emails coming through, a lot of flow, it's very difficult to get traction. So if you see a random email once, or you see an email from a trusted supplier, partner, you're going to go with that supplier, particularly as what people do is they have no consistency. They're just spamming crap out all over the place. They don't know the charity, they don't care about the charity. We work in the charity sector. They don't know the client, they don't care about the client. They're just like, can I get this job? No, I can't. Can I get this job? And then they don't hear from them again for 8 weeks until the next time. And, the approach that we've taken, so we nourish our relationships, we look after them. My team are given like a tracker on how do we engage with people without just being like, do you want to hire someone? So, next week I'm baking about 300 Christmas brownies at my house, like making those all. We then take the homemade brownies out, and that's obviously a massive faff and stress. And
You've done that. I've seen that before.
We do it annually because our brand is relationship led. We care about you. You're our family. Let's have some brownies.
Yeah.
My fear is that one day I will get a complaint where I've put a hair in it, not intentionally, although maybe. Who wins the lucky hair? But we do activities like that, whereas and similar to all other agencies, we've had to up our new business outreach, our business development outreach, because there's just fewer vacancies in the market. But again, we make sure that we do that consistently and in a relationship-led way, not just like, oh, they've got a job and then you never hear from us again. We have an email, follow-up, a gap, then different content, then different content, then different content. And our clients are put on this tracker utilising our CRM system. That means it's a mass mailing, but it's personalised and it's tailored. And I think what we are seeing is, you know, when I first started in recruitment, it's like, you'll have to get in touch with them between 3 and 5 times to even get a response. Now it's 8, 9, 10 times before we're getting a response back. Because,
and why is that?
Because they're already inundated. Like, we're in their inbox, so are 5 other agencies, and actually it's easier to delete. And there's a point, isn't there, where you're like, do you know what? This person isn't going away. And to be fair to them, they are being a bit creative with what they're sending me. So fair play for your tenacity. If someone makes you feel wanted, you're more likely, as long as it's, you know, there's a good borderline, right? But if someone makes you feel wanted, like, I'm remembering you, I'm thinking of your business, you're like, okay, fine, I'll give you a chance. You see, one of my consultants had a thing the other day where a client we've really struggled to engage with for a while, we reached out to them about a new topic. They kind of came back, but were very guarded, set up a meeting with my consultant, were quite rude to my consultant in that process, testing them, ended it, gave them my consultant some follow-up actions. My consultant did that. She came out of it and was like, oh, do you know what, that like made me feel really stressed. I don't know, like, she didn't like me. I don't know whether I should get in touch with her again. I was like, keep on the plan, keep going, send the next content. And we've just had a job on from the client. So I was like, that testing of you is what clients are doing now because they're inundated. So they need to know, are you going to fight for them?
Yeah. And
if you are, then they want to work with you. So, yeah.
That's really, like, sounds very common sense approach.
Yeah.
But there are companies that don't do it like that, and they're just calling, and if they can't get anything, then that won't ever like even bother following up at all. But you mentioned before, like, that some people are offering to like drop rates. Have you come under any fire from that with the increased competition, reduced number of roles? That is a time when, as great as you've got relationship with a client, that's the time they go, we need to talk about these rates because I've got loads of people. And then you come under fire for those. How have you had that situation? How do you deal with it? How would you deal with it if you haven't?
Yeah, I think in times like this as well, a lot of people panic and drop their rates, particularly if they've been those transactional agencies where they don't have that kind of flow, job flow coming in. And, you know, you're right, when a client is like, Ashby, we know Ashby Jenkins Recruitment gives us excellent service, but you're coming in at this rate and they're coming in at 10%, 12% or whatever. So our approach is always that we are never the cheapest agency, but we provide a higher quality of service. Like, you know, there's a reason why you might go somewhere really nice for dinner versus Nando's. There's something wrong with Nando's. But obviously it's lower quality, so that's what's wrong with it. So we come up against it. We try and compromise with our clients in terms of finding a good way to meet in the middle. But the pressure of this person's doing it much cheaper, this person's doing it much cheaper. For us, it's about holding true to our values, really selling in the service and the quality that we provide. And we are getting examples where actually clients are coming back to us and being like, although they were 4% cheaper, 3% cheaper than you, we're going to go with you because we believe like that you can deliver for us. And my consultants are all really credible. I hire people from the sector that we work within, which I know is not possible for all agencies, but I hire senior people from within our sector who have good networks, who have gravitas, and I then train them to deliver. But I think, you know, the relationships, the networks is where it's really key nowadays. And that's where I see like my consultants that come and join can bill really quickly because they already know the sector, people already trust them. My view is always you can teach someone the process of recruitment, but for our sector particularly, but also others, based on recruiters' reputations, you can't teach someone a moral compass. You can't teach someone to value doing the right thing over making commission, and that's why I often don't hire people that have come from a very typical agency background, because it's like figures. Whereas my belief is, yes, there's a focus on income, but if you do the right thing, you will make money anyway. Do the right thing by your clients.
And it's better in the long run as well.
Yeah, because people trust you, they come back, you know, and that's that longevity. Like there are people that I work with now that I started working with 11 years ago when I joined the sector, and that is my biggest achievement, you know, that are trusted advisors that trust me, that support my business, you know. And I think in times of crisis as well, it's really important to be, times of crisis, times of, you know, more challenging situations, it's really important to be open with your clients and be grateful, like be grateful for the business they're giving you, because you can, you know, a relationship goes on a long time, marriage, business, whatever, and you start neglecting it, you have to keep being very honest about like how much you appreciate them. And, you know, the other thing is being aware of, it's a hard time for everyone economically, like we're all in this together, like there's very few industries that are splashing around loads of cash. So being like, oh, you know, it's a really tough market for us, how's it been for you guys? I know it's tough for you, rather than just being like, I'm a sad recruiter and I don't make enough money anymore. You know, you have to be mindful of that as well.
Love that impression of a sad recruiter.
I know, I don't know, sad. I'm sad. There's no jobs.
I think it's like the price, the pressure over price is quite topical, isn't it? Because in a time when every other price is going up, you know, energy, you know, we talk about job boards a lot on our podcast because that always comes up, the price of those, price of tech, you know, everything is just always going up, and it does feel sometimes as though, you know, the fees, the percentages, they're always under pressure to come down.
Yeah.
And I know, you know, maybe with salary and wage growth, things like that, the cost of those fees have gone up. But that must be also a bit frustrating, like when you're doing something at, I don't know, what, 15% or 18%, whatever it is, and then you're with a really, really good client, and then they keep coming back with, yeah, but someone's offered us 12. And that must be, you've got all the... You can sell in all of the value and all of the, you know, the relationship that you've got. But clients sometimes still come back and say, yeah, I know, it's great, but it is a tough time at the minute. And if I can place someone at 12% rather than paying 18% or whatever, I've got to look at that. And how do you kind of just maintain that? You've got to try and find a compromise.
Yeah. I think it's like it's a lot about. I always think of it as like outside of myself. Like sometimes you have to hold the line. Like yes, I'm looking, like we're in this situation at the moment, but we won't always be. Like historically, economically, we've never just gone down and down and down and down. So we will come out of this, and it's very hard once you've dropped to then, you know, pick back up, and that's fine. Like you can deal with that conversation when it comes, but I think you have to hold the line for others as well, in the sense of you know, we're all out, like recruitment is a challenging job. There's a lot of emotions in it. There's a lot of rejection. You have to be really tenacious, you know, and it's tough. So if you get people that are coming in and like they're setting up their new agencies or whatever and they're massively undercutting, you're kind of like, you're doing everyone in this industry a disservice. Like there is a value in the work you do. And yeah, everyone else is putting their prices up, the job boards, all of our suppliers as well, office spaces, etc. So believe in the value that you're adding and stick with it and think outside of yourself. But and for sometimes it's just we have to walk away. Like we won't work at that rate because I know that my consultants put the time, you know, particularly for us, and maybe I just hire emotional people, but my team are upset and they're stressed if they can't find candidates for people. Like that goes home with them. You know, we do wellness things and we, you know, I talk to them about that, but people, they'll come to me and be like, oh gosh, I've got no one for this one, like what do I do? And I was like, have you done all the steps? Like, have you done this? Have you ever? And it's always like, yes. And I know they're working it because they want to support the people, or support our clients. So I know the value that they put into it. And I guess if you don't have that value and if you don't go home with it and you don't worry that you're not got a good enough candidate for someone, then it's easy to work cheaply, right? Because that's the value of the service.
The quality always comes out in the end, right? And I suppose the challenge is, again, like if you are walking away from certain roles, then if you didn't and you do accept it, then there's that little bit of niggle all the way through whereby, you know, maybe that consultant isn't caring quite as much because they're still a little bit annoyed that they're being made to do it for 4%, 5% cheaper than what they would have done it 6 weeks ago or 6 months ago.
Yeah, and actually, sorry, one thing I do say to our clients is, look, that's fine. If you've been offered 12%, 10% by someone and you want to go with them, go back and ask them if all the jobs at that agency are working at 10 or 12%. And if they say no, then you know that they're working at 15, 20, 18% with other clients, and then they've got yours at 10 or 12. They're not going to prioritise that. So yes, they're offering you 12%, but if their other vacancies are higher, they're not going to give yours that much time. And selling that to people, I think, or saying that to people makes people think, oh yeah, so I'm just going to be not prioritised at that rate. I'd rather have someone prioritise my job and sell us.
Also then I suppose what the difference is between if the answer is yes, everything's at 10%, then kind of the question with that is, well, how is that agency business set up to provide you with all the quality, with all the, you know, the checks and everything that's supposed to happen and the care at 10%, whereas other people, you know, what are they doing?
Yeah, that's so much cheaper,
You know, how are they doing it so much cheaper?
Yeah.
Something's got to give somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, is it Temu, the place that sells all the clothes, and it's like 50p, it's not 50p, but, you know, like £4 for a skirt, and you're like, of course, and then you wear it once, and then you probably, like, it falls apart, or it's got whatever. Like, if something is so much lower than market rate, that's not a good sign. Like, it shows a desperation, and yeah, I think, you know, you want a partner that's going to work with you in the long run.
And I think if you're buying a skirt or whatever, like
other products are available.
Other products are available. I haven't bought many skirts, not this year.
Not recently. No. You look lovely in the skirt, though.
Well, you know, that's another podcast. What do you say? We won't go back there. You know, it's a commodity, isn't it? It's a thing. Whereas, actually, what you're talking about is what most clients want is the best possible person for this role they've got. They want like almost an overachiever in this particular job. They don't want someone that's just enough to fill the job. I think probably that's what people would want if you asked them. And so it's almost tapping into that. Yeah, we'll fill the job for you. We'll get you someone to do the job, and maybe they'll be fine. But they're not going to pull up any trees. They're probably not going to be promoting them. You know, they're just going to do the job or leave after 6, 8 months, 12 months, whatever. Or we'll find you someone because we care more, because the relationship's there, we'll find you someone that's not only going to do the job, but you're going to be wanting to kind of promote them in the future. That's where you pay your extra money for.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, like a lot of especially now, I think people don't know how to sell. So I think, you know, I've read Greg Savage's book, I've seen him speak once or twice, but I think people don't know how to sell to people. They're like, here is the script about my agency and this is what we do, but they don't sell the value of that to someone. So it's like, oh, okay, well, I can't sell to you, so I'm dropping my rates. It's like, no, like what do you do and how does that support your clients? People are like, here is our thing that we offer, but not like, how does that benefit the client? How does that benefit you? What's the value of that? And really, like, oh, we do recruitment and we search and we screen candidates, but what does that mean? Where do you source? How do you screen? You know, and how does that impact the client? Because it's like, okay, well, actually a thorough screening process means that you won't have to spend hours shortlisting. Do you have a shortlisting panel? Yes, we do. We have 2 people that shortlist applications. Great. So say that's 4 hours of your day, 2 of you. What does that cost your business? Okay, well, we take that to give you the time back, the money back, but also the like sheer boredom of like going through loads of unsuitable applications. Like that's the value.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think people just don't necessarily know how to sell anymore, or they just think about the product they've got, and they don't think about how.
Why don't they know how to sell anymore?
Why don't they know? I don't know. I don't know if people feel the demand to anymore. Like we all have targets. We all work towards those. That's normal. We've seen, like, you know, the cost of living should mean that people are under more financial pressure, but I don't think people necessarily link it. So it's like, you know, you've got to have a desire to sell, to win. Like the desire, I don't know, is strong enough. Like, you know, not that this was right, but years ago, recruitments, you'd go in at like £16,000 base, and then your commission would make up everything else. So you had to really want to sell because you had to pay your bills. Like when I think I'm sometimes at my best in selling when in tough markets, because I think more creatively, because I'm under pressure, because I'm like, you have to. And I don't know if people have as much desire to sell what they offer, because, and I guess people don't stay around in jobs as long, so they don't necessarily like, yeah, I'm selling this product or this business or our process, but I'm going to probably be leaving here in 18 months. So you're kind of like, you know, whereas before people like, this is a brand I believe in, like this is an organisation I believe in. Because
it's a bit of a generational thing. So do you think that we're into the subject of entitlement, that the people that come through are basically refusing to do something that takes them out of their comfort zone? They, you know, because they're entitled.
Yeah.
Whether or not they are or not, don't know, whatever. But they don't want to do something that makes them feel that kind of uncomfortable by getting someone saying, no, I'm not doing that. Because I think you can get people that believe in things, you know, that generation have to believe in whatever it is they're doing. We know that. We know that, and that's fine. And I agree with that. But maybe it's uncomfortable to actually have that conversation with someone. You know, firstly, people don't like talking on phones so much. You know, phones are gone, so everything's, you know, selling over WhatsApp or whatever.
On the TikTok. They're selling on the TikTok now. Come and get some jobs. She said, shaking her shoulders for those listening.
That was a shoulder shake.
Shoulder shake, shimmy.
Yeah, exactly. They, you know, it's almost like we've got this sort of influencer generation, right, that don't want to do things one-to-one. So, yeah, I'll sell, but I'll sell it by being on the TikTok. I'll sell through my YouTube channel. Yeah. And I'll get all the followers, and I'll set up a little credit card system, and you know, whatever it is, that's how we do it. Yeah. The whole phone this one single person, or text this one person, or email this one person, and tell them how good this service is and get them to buy. probably also doesn't make sense. Why are we doing it to one person? We want to do it to 10,000 people. But then it's not sales, it's marketing.
Yeah. Sales and marketing are the same thing. Controversial thought. Da, da, da. No, I don't know, but you have to get a crossover now.
So, yeah, is that's it? Is that it? That people
So-
don't want to sell because they don't want to be uncomfortable and they don't want to face being told no.
Yeah, I think, but I don't think it's a generational thing actually, because I see candidates and clients and like team members across all ages and ranges, but I do think there's this like massive fear of rejection, and I guess like it's easier to say, do you want
here we
to
go. We got another.
you got another voice.
Recruiter voice.
Sorry, it was like easier to say, I'll just drop it to 10% because that's fine, rather than be like, because if I try and sell them and they reject me on something other than like whatever, or like the price of, well, I don't know, that maybe the point doesn't make sense, but I think people fear rejection now, and I think there is. When I was trained once a long time ago, the trainer said to me, people either fail because of lack of capability or lack of motivation. And if we look at the amount of training that's out there now, like there is a lot of trainers, there's a lot of public speakers, there's a lot of people going into business. So the capability building is there. So people are being trained. So then it comes down to, yes, motivation. And I think, when you were on tiny bases and everything was commission led, you had to make it work. When I set up the business, I had an investor, and one of the reasons that he invested in me was he said to me, what salary do you need to live on to survive? And I went,
$3 million.
$3 million. I was like, I'll do for 20k. I'll work for 20k, and I will eat baked beans every day and super noodles, and I'll stay in my house, but I will work and it will be fine. And he was like, well, you don't need to do that. I don't want you literally struggling for bills. I was like, I'll get a second job if I need to. I'll do Christmas packing. But that was one of the reasons that he invested in me, right? Because I was an idiot. because I knew that I would make it work. I knew I couldn't survive on that for a long time, so I'd make it work. And my recruitment strategy is, most people join me at a salary drop. They take a drop in their salary, and we normally offer under. This isn't in a way of being a knob, but we normally offer under what people ask for, because I want to see a bit of that. Okay, it's under, but the commission structure is good, and so I can make that money up. And it's really easy to do one email and send it out, and that's why, again, that's not selling, that's spamming. You be consistent in your communication with people.
Yeah,
I delete loads of messages all the time. Even some of our suppliers that I don't think have built a good relationship with me, I'll be like, delete, and it's their third time that chasing me on something, not payment. I'm good at that, but
that's why you never respond to my emails.
That's why I never respond to your emails. I delete because everyone's busy. We're busy, right? It's got to be a compelling ask, and a call to action. Make it easy.
Yeah. What about AI then? You mentioned that earlier. Is that going to solve all of our problems?
I love AI. I'm using Copilot. It was exciting. We're doing budget reports, stuff like that. AI. So I was at a conference the other week, and they were like, if you use AI properly, you can make 20% of your workforce redundant. I was like, well, that's a bit of a shit.
It's a shit headline.
It's amazing. I mean, look, we work.
But can you though? I mean,
in the long run, I think they said by 2030.
Say.
Yeah, I mean, also, this may again be my sector, but that's not why I run my business. I'm not here to be like, I wonder whose lives I can ruin by implementing AI. I'm like, no, okay, I want to build good people in this organisation and complement it with AI and build our capacity more to grow, right? I think AI is good. How does it affect the recruitment industry? I think supporting statements, we do those, so covering letters in our sector, very easy for people to create than with AI. Presentations, it's easy for people to create with AI and refine and improve. Writing tasks, things like that, AI can be used. And that's not great if a core part of the job is writing well, and I'm in a difficult stage with it because I loved English literature when I was at English literature school. I love reading, I like writing, But I'm also mindful that you have to be aware of moving with the times. And it's like, okay, is that if you can now get someone whose large part of their job is to write content, and they can get better content than they can create by themselves using a platform, it makes sense that they should do it, right? Like, there was a point where it's like, oh, there's horse and carriage, but this thing could go faster. It makes sense to like move over. So I think you have to like embrace these, but I think you have to do it, you obviously have to do it ethically and be like, how does that impact my team, my clients? You know, what are the GDPR factors around it? Like, for agencies that are using free resources, ChatGPT or whichever other ones out there, PDF to Word converters, that data is not yours. You've put it on there, and you've put CVs, phone numbers, names, all of that on there. And you've put that on there. That's like a breach of GDPR. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. So I think, you know, because that you have no control over that system or no privacy agreement with that system. So I think that is something that people need to be aware of when they're using it. But I think with us, again, like the relationship-led approach, it's human to human. And it's important to do, I think, face-to-face. Like, my team are in like 50% of the week because we do a lot of face-to-face meetings, because you can build more rapport with someone. Like, it's rare. Recruitment, your professional life is kind of a mirror of your personal life. It's rare that you would get to a relationship stage with someone you've never met online, never met in real life. If you do that, you're probably being catfished or scammed. Great Netflix documentary on that. But yeah, so if you're a professional, you need to meet people. Like, you need to build relationships with them. People by people. You know, they'll come to you if they trust you, and if you're willing to give up time and no one else is going out to meet them because they're all working virtually, that's another selling advantage. Yeah,
I think that's fair. And you know, the whole writing thing is, like, you know, if you're using ChatGPT to create a presentation and then you're using that, there's still a little bit of you know, people that go, we shouldn't do that. But at the same time, if you kind of rewind that back to when spell check first went into word,
Very true.
word
That's
process,
a better analogy.
like, no one worries about spelling anymore.
Yeah.
And even though it's a requirement on, you know, good spelling and grammar, but actually, if you're using Word, it will do all of that for you.
Yeah.
So you don't need to know, because you've got the tools that if you're a poor speller, you've got the tools now that will do it. And the same with, you can use ChatGPT to create a presentation. That's great. You know, you still have to put your name to it in the end. And if it's rubbish, then it's rubbish.
Yeah, if you don't know the content, that, like, I think someone at an event the other day was like, ask ChatGPT how many R's there are in strawberry, and it comes back with the wrong answer or whatever. So yeah, like, you use it, but you have to be knowledgeable on the subject you're trying to write about, so you can sense check it, right?
Yeah.
And that is the problem. Like, so a lot of line managers are like getting people to interview that look really strong on paper, have written an amazing statement, and then when they're asking them questions, they've got no content, because they're like, community fundraising is where you go to schools and ask for money, and it's like, I'm okay, yeah, great.
Have you seen much of that where you've...
Yeah, like, obviously we screen it out. So when ChatGPT first came out, I was like, right, here are the key things. Normally people don't know to put it in British English, so it's always spelled with Z's. There's loads of commas, there's short sentences, like all of this, because that's easily readable. So we kind of did some training for the team online. Some training with my team, and then we've kind of just did a blog for hiring managers and things like that. But it is definitely something to keep your eye on, but also make sure you're keeping on top of. Like, embrace new technologies. It's painful, because like, you don't want to.
It's just going to go that way. You can't stop it.
Stop it. Like, you don't want to be that person.
We said that we were going to talk about interviews and kind of some...
Well, this was a feature that I suggested, so you can...
I don't remember that.
Oh, you don't remember it?
No.
I'm pretty sure I copyrighted it.
No.
Sure. I'll just make sure that this is definitely included. By every time you try and speak,
just
I'll
check
just
with
go
the
Ashby's idea.
Officials. I've got the lawyers over there.
So what was this amazing feature?
So I came up with this idea that what we would do is we would talk about some of the funny or interesting scenarios that you've been in from a interviewing perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was my idea.
I think
you agreed.
Well, I think so kind of, the candidate stories was what I said, so like, oh, a candidate did this. So it in terms of a funny interview story, because I think this is always nice.
Oh, you got one?
Yeah, I do, surprisingly, because it's, it's nice, it's a tough year, let's do a bit of lightheartedness. So I had a candidate interviewing for quite a senior role at an animal charity, animal welfare. That's lovely. What did they do? They care about animals. So it was in July. Well, it was years ago. Completely unidentifiable. No one could tell who it was. Anyway, animal charity. Middle of July, and they were in the interview. This was on site, so it was before the pandemic. On site, and 2/3 of the way through the interview, the alarm started going off in the building. It's like blah blah blah. Alarm. Will the owner... That's what an alarm sounds like, just in case anyone doesn't know. So the alarm's going off. Where the town announcement comes over, like, oh, will the owner of so-and-so... Actually, it's not a shop, but a supermarket. It's not a supermarket. There was no tannoy. Someone from reception was running around the building, trying to be like, whose car is this? Whose car is this? And she eventually came into the interview room. Are you the owner of the car, blah, 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 with this registration plate? The person said, yeah, I am. She said, got 2 dogs in the car. It's July. This is an animal protection charity. What are you thinking? And the panel, and she was like, oh, I left the window open a bit. And the panel looked at each other and were like, yeah, I think we're just going to have to terminate this interview now. Obviously, we're an animal protection charity that is famously known, don't leave dogs in hot cars. And she was like, oh, gosh, okay. The candidate never told me that. Came out of the interview, was like, oh, I think it was probably not best. Don't really want to work there, actually. It's not really aligned with my values.
It's not aligned with my values of leaving a dog in a car.
2 dogs in a boiling hot car, yeah, July, there you go. So that's probably the best interview story that I've had.
So do you now brief anyone else? If you're going to take it, don't leave your dogs in the car.
Don't leave your dogs in the car. But no, do you know what though? Because obviously we're now back in the office, we have had to do more basic documents on what to do when you are going to interview, because there's a lot of a generation coming in that never had full-time office work, right, and weren't doing work experiences whilst in. So yeah, we have some documents now on here's normal office behaviour and not to do.
And don't take your dogs to an interview.
Don't take your dogs to an interview. I mean, you could for an animal charity or a dog business.
Did they get interviewed? What happens if you've got a candidate really, really good, brings the dog in, but there's already an office dog in the office.
Fights the dog. Dog fight. You can't.
Does the other dog interview that dog?
It's peer-to-peer. It's peer-to-peer relationships is mainly relationship led. And is there a fee for the dog? There's a fee for the dog. We have an office dog. We like it. Oh, he's a bit grumpy. He's nice, but he's grumpy. He doesn't like me that much. That's mainly why I say that he's grumpy. Right. Okay. Yeah, but not because I'm mean to it. I'm lovely to him. But. What? Probably close to finishing. But what? From 2018 to now, what was the kind of 2 or 3 things that if someone else is going to start a business, what are the kind of 2 or 3 tips you'd give them? Don't bother. I met someone at an event the other day who was like, I was like, oh, why are you here? And she was like, oh, I'm thinking about starting a recruitment agency. And I was like, oh, do you work for an agency at the moment? And she was like, no. And I was like, just don't then. Just don't. I was like, it's not... people speak down on recruiters, but it's not a chump industry. There are people that are incredibly passionate about what we do. We're regulated. There's training out there. And I was just like, don't go into it. Go and work at another agency and learn how to do it from actual professionals, rather than you being like, I can get someone a job. Amazing. I can put an advert out. Come on. No, what advice would I give to someone... If they were starting a business, I guess make sure that you really know and are interested in your market, because a lot of the time people think recruiters don't know anything and they're idiots. And so if you're working in like data or you're working in development or finance, like make sure you understand that and you've got an interest in it, because the kind of thought leadership pieces are important, the blog writing, the content, the going and spending an hour with someone at lunch and talking about stuff that's relevant to them rather than just being like something random. So make sure you've got that interest. Be relationship led and focused, and don't assume that when you say to your team be relationship led, they understand what that means. So what does good account management look like? Define that in your agency and develop a plan and monitor your consultants on that, as in like, have you checked in with that person? Are you delivering on that? Like, you know, because that's, people know a brand or they know a recruiter and they're like, they're great, so you know their team are then going to be great. But if you have a weak link who doesn't understand the value of relationship management, that doesn't work now, particularly if AI is going to advance, which it is, and going to be more and more competitive and maybe cheaper than traditional recruitment agencies. If you're just a churn and burn recruiter, a machine can do that.
Don't be easily replaced by a machine. Brilliant.
Yeah. I did have something else on why aren't people comfortable selling anymore, but I can't remember what it was now.
Oh.
Yeah. That was going to be a real nugget as well.
I bet it was.
Yeah.
But we can follow that up. This can be like, it can be like a podcast part 2. You know,
oh.
With that.
We've not been funny enough. I feel like we need to do more.
No, this is not a funny podcast though.
It's serious. It's not 2022.
It's not 2022.
It's not the year of games, of shits and giggles, is it? No, this is climb out of an economic hardship time.
Resurgence.
It's serious. It's resurgence. I don't think that's the word for, is that for 2025? That's, 2025. Yeah. I do like resurgence. I think I'm put off because of the intensity of the eye contact that you made. But it shows your passion.
How about if I just said it would be the year of...
What's the value to me of it being resurgence? I guess
resurgence.
Oh, that was actually really sophisticated.
There we go. So, I mean, it's just that in the delivery, isn't it?
Yeah.